Trial Tuesday once again, everybody. Today we're discussing a case that's been making international and national headlines these past few weeks. Edward Snowden, the admitted leaker of top secret government information. The always intrepid but never secretive attorney David Aylor joins us right now to talk about the legal ramifications of Snowden's actions and where we go from here. And attorney David Aylor, I got to ask you, where do we go from here? Because right now we can't find him.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting point. This story keeps developing. You know, obviously right now what you're also seeing is a lot of backlash towards China with Hong Kong because it was alleged that he was there and they had the arrest warrant and they were trying to, of course, extradite him back on the espionage charges, and that Hong Kong did not want to play ball.
Well, how is it possible that the Justice Department knew that this was going on? Obviously, he fled to Hong Kong after the allegations came out, and then they froze his passport, and it took over a week and a half for them to get that passport request to the Hong Kong government, the Chinese government, and he escaped.
Well, essentially what it boils down to is there's so much red tape when it comes to any country, even if it was, you know, between the United States and Mexico or Canada. But obviously certain countries, communist countries like China, it's even more difficult as far as, you know, what has to take place in order for that to happen. And then beyond that, for them to actually recognize it. And I think that might be the issue here.
Well, let's talk about the charges a little bit. Espionage charges, something that we probably don't deal with every day in a court of law, and also treason charges. He's been called a traitor by several people in the federal government. So what kind of charges can you expect to be filed against Edward Snowden?
Well, he's going to have a number of federal charges, and ultimately I would imagine they'll probably indict him for each and every individual time that he leaked information. Because the most important part about this is not only is this secret information that you and I wouldn't be familiar with, or the public in general, is when you leak information like this, it puts a lot of people at risk around the country and around the world for that matter.
He says he has the names of operatives in just about every country that the U.S. is now working in covert ops.
Yeah, exactly, and those people are risking their lives, risking their families' lives, you know, to really help the country as a whole. Yet now, if he leaks that information, obviously they're putting those people in danger.
Well, let's talk about the amnesty, because right now the rumors are that he was headed to Moscow to be then put on a plane to Cuba, let's say, and then get extradition down in Ecuador, I believe it is. Is that something that you can see is feasible? I know that happened with Julian Assange. Right now he's taking up residence in the London embassy down in Ecuador. So do you think that this guy can flee the country, and could he possibly extradited back to the United States to stand trial?
Well, I think they're going to try really hard. It's actually interesting. Cuba and the United States actually have an extradition agreement. So if he was in Cuba, they would bring him back, which a lot of people are probably surprised to hear that. Right. However, if he does get to Ecuador, it's going to be a little bit harder because of that reason alone, that they don't have that extradition treaty with the United States. But the amount of pressure that's going to be put on whatever country actually harbors him, it's going to be real difficult to see anything go forward that doesn't bring him back to the U.S.
Well, diplomacy now obviously takes over, but do you think he could ever, with those 4 laptops that he's said to contain with all that classified information, do you think he can say, hey guys, all right, I'm going to come in and I'll give you these laptops back, but I don't want to be thrown in prison for the rest of my life? Does he have any leverage right now?
He has a lot of leverage in regards to the information he holds, but as far as the criminal acts, I would say no, simply because he's already done it. He's already released so much information. Now he may be threatening to release more information and try to use that leverage, which is, I think, a strong factor. However, there's so much he's already let out.
So do you think there's any kind of plea agreement or plea bargain that he can make with the federal government to try and escape some of this heat that he's under?
Well, essentially, I could see them looking at that angle, but, you know, there's such a public perception. You're releasing, you know, this top secret material from the United States about their government, about what their government's doing. They're not going to come easy on him regardless, and I really don't think they'll stop until they get him back here.
Absolutely. The international manhunt's still going on. Of course, we follow it for you right here on ABC News 4, and I'm sure we're going to be discussing this case in many weeks to come.
Absolutely.
Attorney David Aylor, thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks
Do appreciate it as always. Stay with us. Much more Low Country Live coming up.